I think too, this is not just like, okay, it has to be shoved out the door, in the next couple of weeks. This could be stats that you're reporting through the entire year. So,
Yeah.
The military stat might be something you're putting during Military Appreciation Month or however you're looking at that. I think that this is definitely a place that you can position yourself as the market expert wherever you are. Wherever it is, there's enough stats that you could pull out 12 of them, 24, how many ever that you need.
Welcome back to Real Estateable, your go-to podcast for raw, real, and relevant information in the real estate world. Today, we are nerding out. It's one of my favorite episodes that we do every year. We are going over the 2024 NAR statistics.
Yes, absolutely. I'm hoping today Ashlee schools us all on how we can take all of this information, be able to wrap it around to benefit our businesses in 2025. Because for me, I look at this report and I'm like, cool, this looks cool, but definitely has impact in each of our businesses. And I'm so excited to dive in.
All right, give it a listen. All right, so there's a ton of statistics to break down in this report. If you have not ever seen it before, if you go to NAR.com, you can find it there. So they have tons of data, studies, research. I mean, there's a whole report that comes out every year. So definitely give it a look or just give our episode a listen and you'll get the breakdown right here. So starting off with the demographics of homebuyers. So the first-time homebuyer median age increased to 38. And I want to say last year it might have been like 35 or 36, something like that. But now it is 38.
Yeah, for first-time homebuyers, I feel like that is a little bit older, honestly.
Well, yeah, but I also think like with inflation and all of that and the interest rates and stuff, I feel like last year people were a little bit intimidated to buy or maybe unable to.
Yeah, for sure. That just seems high in comparison to years before. But I thought it was interesting too that the median age of just buyers in general is at an all-time high too, at 58 years old. That the median of who is buying a house right now is 58. So I think it kind of coincides with that. Older age for first time means, across the board, who is moving up, moving down. I just think about our pool of the clientele that we have.
Mm-hmm.
Most of them by 38 have moved, half a dozen times.
Yeah.
Whether or not they've purchased, I think it's different. So that could be the case that with this, the stat is about who has actually purchased or sold. But yeah, that seems kind of high to me.
Yeah, I agree. Because we also work with a lot of military people.
Yeah.
So I feel like with the VA loan and the benefits, people are buying at multiple locations and kind of creating that generational wealth as they move to different duty stations.
Well, and I also feel like one of the things that we continuously put out and educate our sphere with is the fact that buying or selling and then buying again is totally obtainable.
Yeah.
Like that is something that we can take the guesswork out of that, simplify that process and really help through, the selling and buying process. So I think that's also what we're used to seeing too, is the repeat of people that are continuously upgrading, downgrading, pulling equity, debt consolidation through selling and then purchasing at a different price point. So I think that also kind of plays into it as well. So it might be the case for you guys too.
All right, let's talk about household composition. So married couples dominated as homebuyers at 62%. And then all the single ladies grew to 20%.
20% of single women purchasing. I think that's awesome, though. I think 20%, like a fifth of the buyers that are in the pool right now being single women, I think is awesome. I wonder what the single men number is. Is that like 2%?
I don't even know. I mean, they only figure out the women on the report.
No, it doesn't even hit. The stat doesn't even hit the report now.
Yeah.
It can't be, but I'd be curious to see what that would look like as well. So
I thought this stat was interesting. Multi-generational living is at a record high of 17%, which
is true.
Yeah. I mean, we have thought about that with my mom, like maybe not living in the same house, but maybe buying some land and building 2 homes. But I mean, there's so many people looking for like in-law suites or like, I'm actually helping a family right now who's going to be moving into multi-generational living. So
it's crazy though, because when I've done this in the past, it has been like what you're saying, buying land, having separate spaces, mother-in-law suite, a detached type of living situation. And now I feel like it's the this, that, or the other things living in the basement, this side of the house, like right down the hallway. Like there's so many more people that are just making, it's like they're cohabiting versus like multi-generational living. So such a difference, all due to affordability. I mean, absolutely consolidating and condensing down to what's needed. It's crazy the amount of people that we're coming across that are taking this approach, really.
I watched a reel or something on this with the multi-generational living, and it's like we're one of the only countries that like 18, you're out of the house. You're expected to be an adult and move on and buy your own house and do all of these things. Well, like other countries, you have families living together for like ever and they just stay together. So I thought that was interesting as well, just seeing like, I guess I never really thought about it, but
it's true. Yeah. Well, and I think about the challenges for first-time homebuyers. So this stat says that we're at a historic low, that first-time homebuyers have a market share of 24%. And that does seem extremely low. But I also think that as a first-time homebuyer, the affordability challenges, as income technically is rising, median income is rising, it's still the cost of living is far exceeding what that looks like. So interesting to see, why is that the case? But why are we as a society, as our culture, why is that a thing? Because I might be counting down the days to 18.
No, you're not.
For one child.
Well, I was like, KK could probably live with you forever.
And he's the one that's not going to. But the other one, like tick, 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 tick. I have one of those like vacation timers, but it's, my gosh.
That's so funny because Mark always is like, oh, when the kids are 18, they're out. And I'm like, no, they're not. They can stay forever. It's fine. I love that.
It's fine. It's not even about when they're out when they're 18, is how many times they're coming back in. So, so that's the case. And I think it depends. I mean, honestly, our 27-year-old is literally like, so when are you building the guest house above the garage that you're building? And it's like, that's called a man cave, not a guest house, not your house. That is not, I'm like, that would be why we have not built this detached
grow word, you might come back.
100%. Or the in-laws that actually don't actually leave. Oh God. I'm like, no, this is
probably why I say I have a pool house. I'd have a whole family living in there.
100%. We love our families, guys. It's just a joking.
All right, let's talk about the trends in the types of homes that were purchased. So new versus previously owned, 15% of buyers purchased a new home, so new construction, and then 85% went for an existing home.
I bet you that has to do with the market that you're in and like the average across the U.S. Because for us, I can tell you point blank, that is not the stat for us here. But across the country, I bet you that's the case. I mean, there's we talk to people all around the country and they'll say, you guys are so lucky because you have a constant stream of new construction. There's constant development that's happening. We have constant growth in the communities that we serve, but that's not always the case. So that seems so low. I can't imagine a world like that.
Yeah, it is really low. And I also feel like here, they're putting new construction everywhere.
Yeah.
Like whether it's a townhouse, a condo, I just saw that there's going to be like a huge apartment condo
situation
flex coming down to the downtown area. And I'm like, where are they even putting that?
Yes, it's like a whole complex or concept with a ball field and restaurants and things like that. It's going across from the German restaurant in that little there used to be, it was
been
like
empty forever.
Yeah, it's been an industrial area and they're talking all about that. But different things are happening for our community. So exciting for that. And I think that honestly, that's what drives us as agents for a growing community. But that might not be you guys. And I think that when you're looking at that, it's all tailored to the approach that you have for the markets that you're serving, right? And so it might be super beneficial for you in a market where you're like, I can even imagine having to work with a builder. So sometimes we feel that too. But it might just be like, your sphere can really generate the listings that you need to sell with the sphere of the buyers that you have. So it's just an interesting stat. I don't think there's anything really to take away. Or like, okay, how do you shift your approach?
Yeah. Preference in home type. So single family homes were 75% with a median home size of 1,900 square feet as a 3-bedroom, 2-bath. Yeah, I could see that. That's about normal for us.
100%. I think that's just, if you think about like the affordability aspect, an average American family, right on par. Yeah, not surprising.
When choosing neighborhoods, buyers were concerned about the quality of the neighborhood. That was important to 59%. And then the proximity to friends and family was at a 45% as like the key components in looking at a neighborhood.
So how awesome the neighborhood is and how close you are to friends. But surprisingly, the distance to work was declining as a key factor, which I feel like more people want to be away from where they work. My husband's like, it's decompress time. Like he doesn't mind the job and the drive and the kind of decompression time. So
yeah, but I mean, for me, like our office literally moved down the street and I'm like, there's no good way for me to get there.
I feel that way too. Where I'm like, why is GPS saying that? I should be going to this light. And then I sit at the light. And it's like, it's kind of like where you're like, go, 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 go. And then you sit at the light and it's the elevator music that you're like, why is it not opening? Why is this light not turning? That is true. We literally are 3 minutes down the road from our old office and it's just not convenient. But I also think though, too, with us in the car so often, like most people will go and like they drive there and they drive home. We drive 62 times to the office, 75 places and around the corner. Like, so yeah, I think it's just a difference of like how many years were we driving to the other office?
Yeah.
Like 10.
Well, and I mean too, like when we lived on Fort Campbell, Mark, he was like, I feel like I'm never leaving work because we lived on post. We were like 5 minutes from his job, like super easy peasy commute. I mean, like he would come home for breakfast and sometimes lunch and stuff. Like it was just like,
don't you have a job?
Yeah. But I mean, I don't know. That would be a driving factor for me, I think.
Yeah, I think so too. I think there's a healthy balance, but I definitely think I could totally see. And I think in our search, like searching, when you're talking with buyers, less and less people are talking about like, hey, I need to be X amount of times around the corner distance from work kind of thing.
I wonder too if maybe that declined because so many people are working online.
Yeah, I mean, definitely. I feel like that is definitely the case when you're looking at, home offices. Like we toured with a builder yesterday and I was like, man, people getting on board with a first floor office and it being separate from living space and having a dedicated office space, getting on board with that concept and selling that concept. I mean, I feel like you're opening your buyer pool 10 times, even if it's like when you're looking at houses and ways to stage out different landings, or is a dining room with a large eat-in kitchen, does it make more sense for the dining room to be staged out as a home office? I think that is really, really it's not even a rising trend. It's a continued trend coming off of COVID for sure.
All right. So let's talk about the home search process. So obviously technology, 43% of buyers began their search online and through the mobile device accounted for 69%, just searching online through their mobile device, scrolling Zillow, checking out homes there.
Well, and I think that we talk so much with our sellers about the prep, the preparing, the setting the stage, the selling, the concept of home. We talk so much about that. And I'm like, duh. Like, duh, and then I also have like agents or assistants going like, isn't that like catfishing? Or I went into a listing, it was nothing like you saw online. But us as professionals, it's like, we need to, not falsely advertising, but we need to be putting our best foot forward. Our sellers need to be prepping and preparing for the best foot forward. But then on top of that, they're putting in the work. You're helping assist them through that process, whatever that looks like from a advisement standpoint to actual material standpoint of staging materials, whatever that looks like. You're expecting your sellers to do so much to turn around and then put terrible quality pictures, not even like where you're like, well, they're not cell phone pictures. Yeah, but is it lighted correctly? Is the angles correct? Like, do you have a professional backing up? You're not 90% of us, 95% of us, probably 99% of us are not professional photographers, but we're expecting that we're putting our professionalism into this. So I think that you have to really be looking at that and going, okay, backing up the work that they put in, my ability to return that for them. Really, I feel like there's no brainer that professional photography and the way you're presenting online with descriptions and, video or anything else like that, what you're putting out there, that's 69%. I mean, you're missing a pool. They're not hitting the mark with, almost 2/3 of the people that would be considering this. So change it. If that's not the case, change it, in my opinion.
All right. So the most difficult step most difficult step in the home buying process is finding the house. 55% of buyers thought that was the most difficult part of the process. And then most first-time home buyers struggle the understanding of the process and saving for a down payment.
Well, I think that's crazy. 55% not able to find a property, guys. Like, think about what 2024 looked like. And I'm like, how do you not find what expectations do you have with a record high? Like, their inventory is plentiful.
Yeah.
I think they're honestly, in 18 years of doing business, I'm like, have I ever seen buyers having more of a choice? I don't know, for inventory. So that to me is crazy. I think you might need to get right with something if that's the case. But I also think that what is the professional doing to advise through the process? Like,
well, maybe that 55% of people just were really indecisive.
that, or their budget doesn't match expectations.
That's true.
You know what I mean? So
yeah,
but I'm even still like any budget. I think that the indecisive has to be the answer. It has to be where it's like, I expected to get 2,500 square foot and my budget's giving me 18 in the neighboring cities or something like that. Okay,
yeah.
That's the explanation. We figured that one out.
Okay. So 88% of buyers used an agent.
I mean, yeah, we're awesome.
That should be like 100% though. I'm like, I can't even imagine.
No, you cannot fix the 12% of that they know it all. I don't want to work with that 12% that we know it all. But yes, it should be as high as possible. But what does it look like for your sphere? How much of your sphere is working with you? Is that 88%? No, that probably should be closer to 100%, I'd say. So,
all right. Well, we're going to take a quick break and we'll see you right after that to talk about financing and investments.
Are you looking for ways to become more efficient and save time in your day as a real estate agent?
We've got the thing for you. We have created 18 done-for-you email templates that cover the entire process on the buying side and the selling side. The best part is that this is only $49 and includes customizable email templates for the process to get you through start to finish with your buyers and sellers. Head over to realestateable.com/email templates, and that's where you can find them.
All right, welcome back. We are going to talk about some of the financing, and interesting enough, 26% of buyers paid cash, which is an all-time high for recent records.
Do you think that's because people are trying to like condense? I feel like I've had sell buys, people who are like, I'm consolidating debt.
Mm-hmm.
I'm getting down, like I'm basically like just really budget conscious. And I think that I've had a pool of people where I'm educating on equity and the ability of what they can do with that, for the most part, tax-free. And so that to me would be why that stat was like that.
Yeah, I think you would have to just like sell
and
then buy something else.
Yeah, I definitely think that would be the case, especially coming off of, the rapid growth that you saw in in prices
in
the last couple of years. But I also think I've seen a lot of relocation too, people coming from more expensive areas to less expensive areas, which now are becoming more expensive areas.
Yep.
So that's probably the other piece to that puzzle too. But I wouldn't think that if I was to guess, like if we're like, here's the quiz, 26% is not even close to what I would thought.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
Kind of crazy.
Surprising.
79% view homeownership as a good financial investment. Shaka.
That should be 100%.
Yeah, that should be 100%.
Well, I think that's all on how well are you doing your job in explaining that.
Yeah.
Like what is it that you are doing to influence the people that are around you on why and how and all that. I'm taking a different approach this year. I have decided we got to make sure we decide this.
Are you asking me
a question? Oh, no. I need to ask. I'm pumping myself up to have this conversation with my husband. So we recently purchased a property really for tax reasons. Really was not something we wanted to pick up, but it was like the numbers didn't really make sense because guess what? Interest rates and just all of that. And I'm like, well, I kind of balanced it besides tax benefits with going, okay, I could Airbnb this property. And then I thought about it and I said, no, I'm not doing that.
Yeah.
Now, it's not like it's a massive loss per month to do long term, but I just have decided that's what we're doing. I need to make sure that we are deciding that.
Yeah.
But I think about that and I'm like, the different ways that I can be educating my clients through the process. Cause I think, isn't Airbnb like an intriguing thing? Like,
Yes.
how do you set that up? What are the steps that you have to do? Well, let me tell you, it's a whole lot. And this is why I'm like, do I really want to do that? But I'm taking an approach this year where it's like, whatever I'm doing or whatever has worked for me, why am I not sharing that story with the people that I'm serving? And it's not
Yeah.
even necessarily like, you should do this, more so this is what's worked for me.
Yeah.
So TBD, if you're following me on social media, here's my accountability. Unless my husband knocks down the we are doing this type thing.
Is he going to manage it?
I don't know who's managing
That's what
it
I'm
yet.
saying.
I'm like, I don't even say that I'm going to manage
Yeah,
this.
but I don't see you being like super hands off with an Airbnb.
You see me as being super hands-on with something time-consuming? So what she's saying is this is a lose-lose. So watch her social media, because by the time this airs, she's going to have changed her mind.
I'm just
On that
thinking
too.
like getting a tenant and
Yeah.
having them for a year versus getting a new tenant every week or every day or whatever it is, and then checking the property and making it sure it's to your standard.
You're
and all
now
these
having
things.
this conversation right now with my husband. Hi, it's me, Chris. I think this is a dumb idea. Why? Because it's dumb.
I mean, I want
Yeah.
an Airbnb. I think that would be so cool. But I'm like, realistically, the cleaning, the scheduling, I don't know. I guess I've never really looked into it. So I don't know all the steps, honestly.
I'm about 36% in, and that's usually when I make my good decisions.
Oh, okay. Not even halfway.
Okay, so back to
Yes,
back to the point of this. Homeownership is viewed as a good financial investment. You make decisions at 30% sure that this is a good thing. But I think that regardless of what that is, whether it's you jumping on impulse and deciding we're gonna go for it,
Yeah.
but what has worked for you in the past for homeownership? What success stories? What stories? What experiences are you sharing with your sphere? And it could even be like, we've worked with agents over the years that haven't purchased a home yet. What are the success stories that you can share from your clients? Like
Yeah.
when you're sitting at a closing table and someone's walking away with, non-tax profits or a huge profit, even if it is tax, that's able to start college funds and pay off debt and be able to upsize or downsize. Where are you in sharing that story? And I think that will help, back up that percentage easily.
All right, let's shift gears to sellers and FSBO trends. So, seller demographics, typical age of a seller was 63, and that's also the highest on record.
Dang,
63.
that is crazy. What's wrong? What's up with all these high record numbers?
I don't know.
Interesting.
I don't know. 90% of sellers use an agent, and FSBOs hit a record low of 6%. So, I'm not really sure where the other 4% goes, but
They just were out there.
maybe they gave their house away.
I think that, I think that's, I believe that's a
Yeah.
viewable, like even if you're looking at 90% sold with an agent, 10% didn't, I think that is pretty basically, like I could agree with that. I also kind of feel like the markets like this are really good for us in the for sale by owner, circle of things.
Yeah.
I also think that if you're looking at, expireds or for sale by owners, that being a pillar of your marketing right now is a really great time to add value to that whole kind of market of people that
Yeah.
you could grow your business from.
All right, market dynamics. Median sales price was 100% of the asking price. So that's awesome. That means agents are pricing correctly.
Yeah. Well, and if median means that some of them are still selling for over asking.
Yeah,
and,
true.
And they're selling for the most part, even lower than median is still selling close enough to that asking price. So that is good news for pricing holding steady. Here's what I could guess though, is that instead of you seeing negotiations and offers, I bet you're seeing listing prices reduce to a point where they're like, this is a deal for us to be offering.
Yeah.
What it is. And I think that I'm speaking from a seller side of things, because I'm like, hey, we already pre-negotiated with ourselves.
Yeah.
We pre-negotiated to get you into the door. And so I think a lot of that is happening. I think about this week, the contracts our agents have been on the buyer side, what sellers have been saying to them when you have a buyer now going, okay, I want to go 5,000 off. I want $20,000 in concessions and buy downs and all of these things, and the seller going back, but we just did a $20,000 price drop.
Yeah.
Which I think there's a balance of it, because to that buyer moving on to the next, they're like, nope, not the deal we wanted to get.
Yep.
So that I think that's interesting. I think it's a cool stat, but I bet you the story behind that's a little bit, it's complicated status.
Homes sold within 3 weeks on average, which I think is a little less than what we're seeing in our market right now. It's a little higher than that for days on market.
Yeah.
Well, this one's going to be shocking, so hold on to your pants here. FSBO homes sold for less than agent assistant sales.
What?
Shocker.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not surprised by that at all. FSBO said that pricing and paperwork were the key hurdles.
Shock.
I'm also shocked by that as well.
You wouldn't say that that's what we can expertly assist on.
Yeah.
Sure.
I think those were like the main stats that we pulled. There was one other one that was interesting. I was going to mention that 2% of all the buyers were active duty military.
Dang.
Which I'm like, for us, that's like 100% of our buyers.
Literally.
But I thought that was like kind of small, 2% of active duty. So,
Well, I just think if you're talking all across America, I think it's just such our world
Yeah.
mayo on that. But I think there's other people that think, wait, a VA loan? Gross.
yeah.
Not doing that. And like for us, we're like, VA loan, easy button, best interest rates, let's do it. So I think that is definitely a surprising stat. We're bringing up the numbers though. If it wasn't for Fort Campbell area, then I think it would be different on that. So
Yeah.
I think when you look at all of this though, it's like, okay, for me, I only get excited about this because Ashlee, energy overflowing on the nerd alert of the data and stuff like that. But I do think it's things like when you're explaining to clients, when you're using statistics and saying, statistically, this is what this looks like or what you can be expecting. How do you become an expert in your field, and how do you present the data that's needed for your clients to make sound decisions? This is a great platform, and even maybe a printed out platform if you have that kind of consumer that you're working with. If they need to see the numbers, this would be kind of like your cheat sheet. Okay, got it. Based off of what's happened, here's how we're going to act and react in the current market. So for me, okay, I'm not going to sleep on the pillow underneath my pillow.
Yeah. But
She's like, yeah, I do.
I do. It's actually, I cuddle it every night.
I cuddle the numbers.
I just think that this gives us like a massive opportunity to create content or create marketing, printed materials, whatever it is, for like the first time home buyers, or specifically tailored to whoever you work with. So we mentioned we work with a lot of military. So of course our marketing has a lot of VA loan information and tips for like moving to our area and things like that, where we've tailored it to our ideal client, but use the stats to create content.
Yeah. I think that's not a bad idea, even to print it out and then highlight as you're using those. I think too, this is not just like, okay, it has to be shoved out the door, in the next couple of weeks. This could be stats that you're reporting through the entire year. So, the military stat might be something that you're putting during Military Appreciation Month, or however you're looking at that. I think that this is definitely a place that you can position yourself as the market expert wherever you are. Wherever it is, there's enough stats that you could pull out 12 of them, 24, how many ever that you need.
All right, Tiff, what was your favorite stat?
My favorite stat?
Or most interesting, or whatever you found the most interesting?
Honestly, I feel like just as a whole, the prices of houses selling, the median prices of houses selling at 100% of asking, I think to me, I'm like, okay, I could see that here, like where we're at. And I think that the reason is because of the price reductions that are happening during active listing time. But I'm like, okay, I could see that. But I'm also just like, how is that an average across America when you hear the news preaching a different scenario? So I think that's why these are so important for you to make sure that you're heeding actual data, that you're being the source of the source, and the source is the truth. You know what I mean? So to me, some of that stuff was like, okay, could totally see that. Okay, interesting. But some of the stuff that the media is still presenting to you on housing and affordability, you're like, but really? Yeah. Stat says that that's not the truth.
Yeah.
What about you?
I think mine was the median age of home buyers and sellers being that 56 and I think 63. I don't know. It's just kind of higher than normal.
Yeah. I think it's too all in where you're doing business. 'Cause,
Yeah.
like we work with younger gen of people just
Yeah.
by nature of where we're at. So yeah, interesting to see kind of what it looks like around the country. I think that that's the cool thing about all of this is like, it's like, okay, how do you measure up? Like, how are you on your benchmark of school testing? How are we doing as a whole in our area? So
Yeah.
exciting.
All right. If you found this helpful, make sure you give it a 5-star review and share it with a colleague. You can find us everywhere at Real Estateable on socials, and we will see you next time.